The top three mistakes I've personally made trying to scale past $500,000 a month. Now, in this video, I'm going to cover just three things that I've learned along the way. And obviously, when you're scaling to over $500,000 a month, there's a lot of things that you learn and a lot of small things that come across the way. But in this video, I kind of want to do something a little bit different and just keep it raw and real with you and just come up with three things I think are going to be actionable. Because if I come through here and I give you 20 different things, most of you guys aren't going to implement or remember any of them, right? So like that's where I think going through here and just giving a couple small action steps and actual advice is huge, because one of the biggest things I've learned along my way is speed of implementation. And that's why, like, one of the things I talk about a lot is investing into masterminds, going to masterminds and implementing things. But like one of the things that's very constant at masterminds or when you pay to go get information is an overwhelming amount of information. So what I try to do is just keep it as simple as possible, and hopefully you can respect that. So in this video, I want to cover three mistakes that I've personally made trying to scale over $500,000 a month. To give you context, back in November, we hit our first $500,000 month. And since then, we've been trying to replicate that and scale beyond it. We've even built the team for it. So I want to cover a couple quick things. So the first thing that I want to put on here is wrong or unclear expectations. When it comes to managing a team, or if you want to say employees, whatever it might be, because when hiring people, a lot of times, one of the mistakes I've made in the past is hiring somebody thinking that they're going to fix all the problems. In reality, that doesn't really happen. You have to hire someone based off of the principles, based off of the systems that you already have, so you can bring somebody on. So it's kind of like you're just plugging them in to do more of it, but then do it more efficient and then better from there. Because a lot of times if you have the wrong expectations, refrain from adding more variables inside your company. So one of the issues that I've personally made is when we bring on somebody, they want to come through and they want to change all these different things. And it's like, when you do that, you go away from what's already working. Now, if nothing's working in the first place, then you don't really have much to lose. But typically, when you're doing over $100,000 a month and you're trying to scale over $500,000 a month or wherever you're in that market, typically there's things that are already working that you just need to do better. And that's essentially what we help a lot of our clients with, is they think that they need to change up everything, but sometimes you just have to focus and keep the variables in line. What I mean by variables, we can just use marketing, for example, is let's say that, you're running a low ticket product, right? And you have like a 4x ROAS. Well, someone else might come through on marketing and be like, well, let's change up your entire marketing. Instead of doing low ticket, let's just move you to YouTube ads so we can get you a higher ROAS. That'd be one of the stupidest things you could do, because you're adding an entire different variable. Instead, what you could do is take a little bit of that budget and then put it into YouTube to test to see if it makes more sense. Now, if you're getting already a 4x ROAS, you might as well start scaling that thing up and maxing it out. It's a whole nother conversation for another time. But like when you have wrong or unclear expectations, it really can ruin a culture inside your company as well too. And I think that's the other part with this, is like when you're going this route of bringing on new team members, making sure you're spending the extra time up front to make sure all expectations are met and everything is super clear. And this is one of the hardest parts that I found, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And for example, one of the things that we throw masterminds, we throw quarterly masterminds and meetups inside my company. So like one of the things is like sometimes we overdo it, and we went that route of like overdoing stuff because we didn't know what we didn't know, right? Like having specific constraints on things, saying no to certain things, having specific expectations. A lot of it comes down to just like you have to experience some of this stuff. And unfortunately, like a lot of people, when they want to grow, they don't realize that in order to grow, you have to go through a lot of growing pains in order to learn a lot of this stuff. But that's really what I think would be one of the most beneficial things, is like when you bring on people, having clear expectations, because that also kind of goes into the next one that I wanted to cover, which would be holding on to positions or people longer than need be, which kind of goes into I'll cover that one in a second, but like a lot of times inside companies, and I've made the mistake as well, you hold on to people longer than you need to. And I've seen this over and over and over again, and I'm definitely one to blame for this because I become friends with people inside my company. It's hard to kind of separate that line of boss and friendship. And especially when you love what you do and you love the culture that you have, that I found is one of the hardest things to do in order to build a successful business, is keeping the friendship and then the boss mentality aside. I've definitely done a lot better of a job. Again, one of those things where you have to learn as you go. Because for me, like in my company, I don't want to just be a dick to everybody all day, every day. And I know some people run companies like that. I've seen people run very successful companies and they're just a dick to everybody on their team, but they pay them well, so they stay there. But like for me, I want to have a culture where people want to show up. They want to have fun, so it really depends on what you're building and how you're trying to grow your company. But for me, that's something that I always want to have, is like just good company, good culture, right? And like that would be kind of the position, that would be the thing that I would like to talk about, is just like holding on to positions and people longer than need be. There's a quote, I forget who said it, but there's a quote going around where it says, the moment you're thinking about firing someone, you should probably fire them. I think that's a little bit extreme personally, but the moment that you've thought about firing someone 5, 7, 10 times, you probably should have already done it. And the idea of this, and it's been very true to me, the moment you're thinking about letting somebody go after they messed up a couple times or you're getting the vibe, they're already mentally checked out. So most of the time, like what I found is like if you're going to fire somebody, they've already mentally checked out weeks ago, and you're only doing them a favor by letting them go earlier. Now, again, it has to come down to the point of being very specific on why you're letting people go. Like you don't just let people go to let people go. You need to understand KPIs. You need to understand what they're accountable for, which kind of goes into like the subsection of this is building, or do not hire someone and then build the position around them. Build the position first, including KPIs, and then hire the right person. So a mistake that I've made in the past is I have actually hired the right person and then built the position around their specialty, when in reality, that's the last thing that you want to do. And it's worked. It's gotten us to the point where we did $500,000 with that strategy. But in order to grow, we need to you need to create the position first, be super detailed, super outlined on all KPIs, all expectations, what they're supposed to do, and then make sure that they fit. That way, if someone isn't working out in your company, you can go back to the position and be like, hey, this is what I hired you for. Remember when I went over all this with you? How do you feel like you are aligning with this purpose? How do you feel like you're aligning with these KPIs? Because at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. And if they're either hitting their KPIs or they're not. They're either hitting their responsibilities or they're not. And if they're not, then they're not meant to be at this company. They're not meant to be at your company. And you can make up all the excuses in the world, but they're actually better off by letting them go in that scenario. And that's been a thing that I've made mistakes on in the past, is I would just keep people around longer because of, wanting just to make sure that they would work out, hearing excuses, things like that. And at the end of the day, when it comes to like having your company on point, if you have somebody in your company that is not dialed in, it's kind of like a virus inside your company. So I won't get into too much details, but we had somebody in the company that was, let's just say, cheating, basically. I'm not going to get into all the details, but they were cheating. And I found out about it the first time. And we let it go because, it was a very strict conversation saying, hey, this can't happen again. But little did I know, and I kind of knew in the back of my mind, it was continuing to happen. And then we were getting lied to about it. Long story short, that whole time where I kept that person on board, the company was kind of going down. And I couldn't figure out why. I literally couldn't figure out why. I thought it was some of the marketing, sales, whatever it might be. And it wasn't until I fired that person that immediately that same day, everything just went straight up. It was kind of like a law of the universe, if you will. But the point I'm trying to get at with that is like, there are things called viruses inside your company, and sometimes you can't see them right away. Sometimes they're the people. So you have to be very specific on the people that you keep in on your team, because those are the people that is going to shape the energy of how your company grows. And if you have a virus on your company that's bringing everything down, lying, cheating, other people are going to slowly attract to that, whether they want to or not. So your job as a CEO is to make sure that everything is dialed in. And that really comes out to the last one. The top 3 mistakes is just stressing too much and putting too much pressure. It's kind of like one of those things where when you want something so bad and you're just like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I have to have this, you're kind of putting the energy out there where you're going to do the opposite of it. Now, I'm not going to get into too much energy side of stuff, spiritual side of stuff, or how the universe operates and the laws of the universe. We could go into more detail on that in another video. But the thing I want to leave you with is like, remember, building a company is supposed to be fun. Enjoy the process. Stop stressing too much about it. You're never going to have an upward slope every day, every month. You're going to have higher highs and higher lows, and you're going to have lower lows and lower highs, kind of like a stock market. That's what makes a business a business. It makes it a healthy business. A lot of us think that it's just going to be a straight line up, and then when things go wrong, we freak out and then add more stress. And a lot of times, what I've found through this, I've invested a lot of time, energy, and money into my mental work on here, because this is the most important thing to grow your business. Is a lot of times our brain wires get crossed, and when there's so much like things going wrong, we get them so crossed that it's hard to get them back to normal, where you can actually just see and understand what the whole point of the business is, right? So point being with this is like, enjoy the process, guys. Like, I'm sure you probably got into this space the same that I did, is for the freedom side of it, right? And if you're always constantly stressing and you're constantly worried and you're not taking care of your health, what's the point? Business is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to elevate you and get you to the next side. If you need to take some time off to have a reset, go do that. I see a lot of times where people just don't take time off to enjoy themselves and reset. That's why we always have a quarterly mastermind with our top clients, is because we want to force people to reset. We want to force people to travel, to reset, because if you're working all day, every single day, and you're not taking time to reset, you're just going to hit a brick wall. And it's hard to see that when you're in the position. So my biggest question for you on number 3 here, are you having fun with your business? Are you having fun with the team? Are you having fun with the clients? If not, something needs to change. It's not sustainable if you're not. And, it sounds so belittling, but like, enjoy it. If you're stressing too much, we need to fix that. So these are top 3 mistakes real quick. Hopefully these are some things that will give you some clarity moving forward. And if you like this type of video, let me know. As always, if you guys want to learn how to do more business with me or my company, I'll leave some links down below, and I'll see you in the next video.